Hi YouTube family, Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and I've been asked to do a video that addresses how it is we codependents or recovering codependents can prepare ourselves to leave a narcissistic relationship. There's no way around it, dear ones. If you're codependent, life sucks. And if you're married to a narcissist, life sucks. And if you're trying to leave a narcissist, right now, life sucks. It is better to understand that right now in your life, it's about breaking through. And remember that when you're leaving a narcissistic relationship, it literally feels like you are ripping your soul apart from another soul. There's just no way around it. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be possibly even bring you to your knees at times. I know that when I was going through my divorce, it brought me to my knees because I had to come face to face with my loneliness. And, one of the things that I realized about marrying a narcissist was that I was groomed to be a codependent because my parents were codependent. Everyone that was in my life was codependent. They just didn't know it. And since I was a little girl, I was watching my mom enable my dad, and I was watching my mom stuff her feelings, and I was watching my mom turn into two different people. I mean, she was one person around my dad, and she was another person when dad wasn't around. And so, learning to stuff my feelings, and then, my mom would explode when my dad wasn't around. And here I was, a young mom, a really young mom with 3 little kids, and I found myself exploding, and I found myself so resentful, and my body was completely breaking down. And my ex-husband, who's a covert narcissist, and everyone loved him, by the way, because he was not the same person like my mom. When there was an audience, he was not the same person. When it was just myself and the kids and the door shut, he was someone else. We got the silent treatment. We got the glares. I mean, I remember going to like an Applebee's with him or something when we were supposed to be reconciling, and literally he sat there and stared out the window and ignored me. And I was like, I'm done. I remember we were sitting with the kids, and I wrote, how they give you the crayons at Applebee's, and I wrote on the napkin, I'm done. Like, how dare you tell me that you want to reconcile and then ignore me? But that's part of what happens in codependent relationships and codependent/narcissistic relationships. As soon as the codependent's done and they want out of the relationship, the narcissist comes running back. It's all a tactic. And then the nice codependent thinks, okay, finally he hears me, or finally she sees me. And as soon as you are that worm and you get back on that hook, here we go, the games start again. The way I look at it is this: a narcissist always wants to be one up on you. Always. And if you watch the narcissist, if you just observe, right, and we talked about this in another video, when you start using the spirit of discernment, just observe the narcissist, detach, pull your awareness into your body, and then just observe him or her. You will see that their tactic is usually one up. My ex-husband used to act like he cared about people, and he didn't. I knew that, but in his head, and he told me this even, he's like, so what? They don't know that I really don't care about them. I'm like, but you're not being genuine. Like, you're lying. Yeah, but they don't know that. That was part of his one up, because in his head, they didn't know he was lying on an emotional level where he needed to feel in power and control of the other person. On that level, that's where he felt the power over them. Being genuine with someone, narcissists can't do it because that's equal. That's authentic. That's an even exchange. That's a partnership. Narcissists cannot exist on that level. They just can't do it. They have to be up here. Sometimes they resort to passive aggressive behavior. And sometimes they're very overtly abusive, with the criticism. But I remember when I came face to face with the idea that, oh my God, I'm a codependent. I am a serious codependent. I am resentful. I am angry. I feel abused and I feel used. And then I had to say, wait a minute, like this relationship is simply a manifestation of the way I felt about my mom. And this push and this pull and this wanting and this craving to be loved. I craved my mother like a fat kid craves cake. Like seriously, like mom, see me. I would have done anything to feel like my mother loved me. I'm dying for this acceptance, dying for this sense of Lisa, you belong. It was terrible to grow up that way. And she was completely unaware that, that this was, well, I don't know if she was completely unaware. Sometimes I actually knew. I think she was completely aware that there was no bond, and she used to talk about it. She would say, oh, we have a personality conflict. And that's the way she chucked it, she wrote it off. But again, my mother was severely abused as a child. She's the adult child of 2 alcoholics, a narcissistic mother, a narcissistic dad. And, and she didn't quit high school because she went and she took care of an uncle who was very, very ill. So taking all this into consideration, I can understand how a young 19-year-old mom has all this negative energy inside of her and does not feel seen by her own family, never felt like she belonged, has me as her kid, and just can't bond, and psychologically says, well, it must be the kid because I don't like her personality, and think that that's okay. That is so effed up, dear ones. Like, that's not cool. Like, if you're a mom watching this video, or if you know a mom, someone in your family thinks it's okay to, like, disdain their children, it's not. Now, I'm not talking about kids who are driving us crazy, who are drinking, smoking weed, getting high, stealing from us. That's a completely different issue. I'm talking about moms with small children or dads who have an issue with bonding. They cannot bond with that child. That is indicative of a serious emotional problem with the parent, which is going to be transferred onto that child. The disconnect the child feels with mother, the child's heart is going to presume, through the brain, I am no good. And eventually that child will either become a codependent or a narcissist, or in my opinion, a being who uses emotional manipulation to get their needs met unconsciously. And for some of us, we cry when we don't get our needs met, or we don't always tell the whole truth. Whatever. There's a whole bunch of ways that people play these effing mind games to, like, get people to see us and validate us. It's just unhealthy. It's just unhealthy. So when you come full circle and you realize that you're a codependent, and let's say, for instance, you're married to a narcissist who has no interest in changing. My ex-husband, we went into therapy, and his intention was to convince the therapist that I was crazy. And when that didn't happen, he nearly killed us on the way home. Like, he was pissed. Like, he accused me of making things up. I wasn't making nothing up. He said things like, you set me up, you did that on purpose. And I'm thinking, this is therapy. We're supposed to be telling the truth. What's wrong with you? But in his head, in my opinion, he wasn't able to manipulate the therapist. And so when I started speaking honestly to this third party, he started to get an idea of what this really looked like from the outside, and he started to realize that his control over me was slipping, and that I may have been able to get someone else to see what was really going on inside the family. And that freaked him the hell out. And I remember holding onto the dashboard thinking, this SOB is going to kill me on the way home. I was terrified. And so when I went into therapy with my ex-husband, it was all a sham. But needless to say, when I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm done, I had to accept that I was going to be in pain and it was going to suck. And it's sort of like letting the you-know-what hit the fan. It's sort of like you just kind of surrender. And you say, okay, this is going to be painful. I'm going to have to, like, just stick this out. It might be 3 months. It might be 6 months where I feel weepy, where I'm grieving, where I get used to not having this person in my life. And I really believe at a quantum level, when you're sharing a space, a home with another being, you exchange electrons. Like, your aura enmeshes with their aura, and your energy now is transferring energy from their aura. I mean, it's proven. Like, our auric fields go out about 8 feet, 8 to 10 feet. And in our aura there are electrons. And so obviously if I'm standing next to someone, our auras are, going to intermingle. And so now you have an energetic intermingling. You have a psychological enmeshment. You have a fear. You have traumatic bonding. I mean, yeah, when you make up your mind to do this with someone that is unhealthy, then you're going to feel all those disentanglements. You're going to feel that, and it's not comfortable. What helped me was to understand that my mind was sort of like a yin and a yang. I was going to have the emotional side where I was going to feel the separation, and I was going to physically feel the pulling away and the grieving. But then there was the other side where I used logic and reason to get to a point where I was able to understand that this was something that needed to absolutely happen. And I think that if we're able to get to points in our lives, we're able to understand that it's okay to honor the emotional sides of us, as long as we keep thinking with our prefrontal cortex and not the amygdalas and the hippocampus. Remember, all memories and patterns are stored in the amygdala and hippocampus. And I think it's interesting that information is stored, in our temporal lobes. And I think about the hippocampus and the amygdala like blinders on a horse. They keep us blind. They keep us acting out these patterns. You have to get here, dear ones. And I believe tapping of the prefrontal, of the forehead is very, very helpful in some cases. I would suggest tapping, when you really, really get anxious, tap, this is going to get better. This is going to get better. This has to happen. Better days are coming. You activate the prefrontal cortex where all logic and reason, can take place. We don't have the neural wiring outside of the hippocampus and the amygdala. We have to create neural pathways. Literally, you do not have the physical neural pathways to the prefrontal cortex yet. If you are the adult child of an alcoholic, or if you've been emotionally abused as a child and you haven't worked through any of that stuff, and you're married once and twice and 3 times and yada, 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 and your life is still a mess, chances are you're working from here and not from here. So one of the things that will help you on your road as you detach from a narcissist is to, yes, bless the emotions, grieve it. Yes, grieve it. Not just grieve the end of the relationship, like grieve what has never been. Like when you divorce a narcissist, you have to, well, it's healthy to, not all people do, which keeps them stuck, but it's very healthy to grieve the idea that the person that you loved didn't exist. Because what codependents do is they tend to see people the way they want to see them. I know myself, I saw my ex-husband as someone who was going to get it one day. And he never did. I believed that he had my best interest at heart. And one day he told me, I never think about your feelings. I was like, you said that out loud. What? If you're a codependent, all you do is think about what your kids need. You anticipate people's needs. You anticipate the needs of your husband or your wife. That's all you can't stop thinking about how people feel if you're codependent. And that's part of the problem. So when you are detaching from these very enmeshed relationships, accept that it's going to suck. Just stop. It's like getting shot in the foot and not expecting it to hurt. Imagine getting shot in the foot, God forbid, and you wake up out of surgery and your foot hurts and you're freaking out hey, my foot hurts. That's not supposed to hurt, But we sort of kind of assume that, when you get shot in the foot, it's supposed to hurt. You get a tooth pulled, it's supposed to hurt. We all kind of accept it. So I think the same thing, accept that it's going to hurt. Also, accept logically that part of why you hurt is because you have not had a self. And that now the loneliness and the being aloneness and the space that you're going to find now, because this partner is going to be, extricated from your life, that space is very essential now, dear ones. You have to fill that space with ideas and things that serve you. So fill your home with white candles. Sage your house. Open the windows and sage every room in your house. Buy wonderful CDs. Start playing incredible music in your home. Make sure that you absolutely take control of everything in your life that you see, that you smell, that you can touch, and that you can hear. I took my recovery very seriously. So those of you who work with me one-on-one, you know that I stopped watching the news. I only listened to music that made me feel inspired and made me feel good. I changed the art in my room. I had Post-it notes everywhere. My kids thought I was crazy. I had Post-it notes in the refrigerator, on the refrigerator, things that said like, you are enough. You can do this. Being alone is necessary. Being alone is so important because what we've never done is we've never connected to the self. And so because we were ignored as children and our parents never connected to us, we were never connected to self. We don't even know that we're valued because our parents were supposed to look into our eyes, right? The eyes are the windows to the soul. And so it's sort of like you look into mommy's eyes and you see love staring back at you and your soul gets turned on because mommy sees me. It's magical. It's incredible. It's beautiful. And I do it with my own children. I make sure that I look them in their eye and I can tell that they can feel me, and I stare at them until they feel seen. Very important. Oh my God. It's like turning on a light switch in a house. And so because that wasn't done for many of us, we're not connected to self. So now when we're dealing with people who are narcissistic, we never get an opportunity to turn into self because they hijack every conversation. They hijack every experience. They're in our head. They threaten to commit suicide if we leave them. They threaten to kill the dog. They threaten to take the kids away. I'm not kidding. This is the kind of stuff narcissists do. You know that. This is serious stuff. So understand that being involved with a narcissist takes you away from self. You cannot connect to self when all this stuff out here is absolutely crazy. You need time. You need space. So you need space so that you can reflect on your ideas. So you need to be able to look at your mind and see how it's thinking without being gaslighted, without being pulled into a dynamic, without being called selfish, without being called crazy. So it really is magical to be alone after you end a relationship with a narcissist. Now, what lots of us do is we jump right into other relationships. In my opinion, that's the worst thing you can do. Now, there are certain people out there who say that human touch and all this stuff is very necessary. I agree, but not when you are at the lowest point, when you are the most needy, and you haven't worked this stuff out. That's the worst time for you to couple with someone. You will not have boundaries. You will not have good judgment. And worst of all, you're tuned up for a narcissist. So I went on a sabbatical for 2 years after, I guess, the third serious narcissist that I dated, the second one after my husband, who was probably the worst of all, So here I thought I was getting better and better. And I still years after my divorce, I attracted a narcissist. So something up with me. I was the common denominator. And that's when I said, okay, no more. I stopped dating for 2 years. Truly pulled apart my thought processes. Took the spotlight and looked at every aspect of myself. When was I being judgmental? When was I being critical of myself? When was I being needy? When was I doing something for someone and expecting something in return? When was I bringing myself to the table with a lack mentality? When was I acting like I didn't have enough? When was I not being my authentic self? When was I toning myself down? When was I being nice to people when I didn't really want to be nice? When was I extending myself to people that wouldn't have extended themselves to me? So in that 2-year period, I really, really took a serious personal inventory. And I did like a checklist. I checked everything off. And then after that, that's when I wrote a letter to the universe, and I said, by the time I'm 45, I will be ready to manifest this relationship. This relationship will make me feel seen. I will respect this person will respect me. I will be able to put everything, all my belief behind him. He will love my children. I will love his children. My children will respect him. He will be a good dancer, snazzy dresser, whatever. It was my letter to the universe. And on my 45th birthday, hand to God, on my 45th birthday, my husband asked me out for dinner. I'm not kidding. Write about it in My Road Beyond the Codependent Divorce. So definitely, dear ones, I can share with you what helped me, and what helped me leave that first narcissistic relationship, the one that I was married into, was understanding that it was going to be painful. Embracing the pain. I bought candles. I changed the art in my house. I meditated every day, sometimes hours for a day. I loved meditating in the morning, and I loved meditating right before I went to bed. I journaled. I let myself feel, and I gave myself probably about an hour every morning to cry and to purge. I mean, some days were so bad. I remember one particular day I was on my bed, with a gallon of ice cream, and I was just like crying my eyes out eating this ice cream. It was so gut-wrenching. And my heart goes out to any of you who are, in the throes of that right now, because it's so mind-bending. It really is. The time that you're about to approach, however, as you move forward, because so many of you, God bless you, writing me, telling me that you're ending narcissistic abusive relationships. So many of you are right at that point where you're letting go, and you have children, and you have jobs, and you have careers and family, and financial situations, and it's so overwhelming right now. All I can tell you is that breaking free is the most important step. Most important step. Staying in your body, dear ones. Try not to self-medicate with drugs, with alcohol, with sex, with shopping. Try not to self-medicate. Stay in your body. Feel the emotions. Sit with the anxiety. Cry about the anxiety. Tell yourself that it's okay to cry. Embrace it. Let it happen. I'm knocking my candles over. Let it happen. Then, cry an hour or whatever, and then see if you can shift into logic and reason. Sit in the lotus position and see if you can come up with all the reasons why you need to end this relationship, so that you can create the neural pathways to the prefrontal lobe. Be diligent. Expect that this is life's work. Like, if you wanted to learn Chinese, you can't learn Chinese an hour a week. You have to practice that. You want to learn Greek? You have to practice that. Whatever it is that you are being challenged right now for, you have to embrace wholeheartedly. And there goes my office phone. I'll just ignore it. And so understand that the more diligent you are on the healing journey, the quicker you heal. So the more you look to escape and come out of body, the slower you heal. I know for me, I jumped from relationships to relationships when I got divorced. Worst thing I could have done. Now, if I had just sat in my pain, if I had done all my recovery work then, really head on, then I would not have suffered, and I would have attracted the other two narcissists. Undoubtedly. So, dear ones, give yourself time. Do not react. For the first time in your life, don't react to the emotions that are showing up in you. Don't react. Just let them come up for you. This is what I teach in my teleclasses. Let them come up. Let the anger and the rage and the sadness come from your toes all the way up through your chakra system until your brain can say, it's okay. You deserve to feel this way. I mean, it's not deserve like you did something wrong, but it's absolutely valid that you feel this way. This grief is real. The major problem I think most of us have is the fact that there's so much in us that is unconscious that we have yet to make conscious. if you are in a domestically abusive situation and you've attracted husband number 3 who now also abuses you, and you grew up with an abusive father, or your brother beat you up, or you had suffered from sibling abuse, domestic violence is part of your programming. Dear one, until you make that conscious, you're going to keep doing what you've always done. You're going to react and recreate and recycle. Those are 3 deadly R's. And so you need to make that which is unconscious conscious. And that's what this time away from the narcissist is all about. That's part of it. So let the feelings come out. Give yourself time to heal. Honor it. Be good to the little girl inside of you. Be good to the little boy inside of you. One of the things that I did was I used to go buy myself ice cream cones and I would sit on a park swing, all by myself, just soothing this little girl that was inside of me. Beautiful stuff. I started wearing pink nail polish. It sounds a little silly, but I never wore pink nail polish. And suddenly, when I was going through this healing process, I started to wear pink. It was like I was saying, it's okay that this little girl was inside of me, and I'm going to nurture her. For some of my male clients, some of the things that they do is that, they start playing a lot of ball with their sons, or they start jogging. They start playing tag football with some of their buddies. They start to really get in touch with this little boy that they feel that they've ignored. So the time right now is very, very important. Embrace it, stay in body. Pay attention to what's on what art you have in your home. Pay attention to what you're listening to. Every vibration that your brain and your being is exposed to, you must take control over it. Negative people at work, just move away. Negative things in the newspaper, don't read the newspaper. Bad things on the news, don't watch the news. You're in the car, turn the car off, or turn the radio off, or listen to soothing music, or music that raises your vibration. Do everything and anything you can to take control of all of your senses. Wear satin tight pajamas to bed. Buy a satin pillow. Buy body wash with cocoa butter in it, or use soothing oils on your skin before you go to bed. Sniff lavender. I mean everything. Don't drink alcohol. That's very harsh. It's very toxic. Begin juicing. Go on probiotics. I'm not kidding. Sit out in the sun for a little bit. Anything that you can do to take control over the vibrations that affect you is effective, especially when you're in a crisis and you're dealing with ending a narcissistic relationship. You must love yourself, dear ones. That's the name of the game. That's the name of the game. I hope this has inspired you. Please let me know. You can reach me at healingselfesteem@gmail.com. You check out my website at www.healingselfesteem@gmail.com. Right now I have 4 MP3s available for download on my website, and I will be uploading new meditations soon to my website at healingselfesteem.com. Namaste, dear ones. Bye.